Minecraft Origins Explained. Today we've got the Weapons Master origin created by the user known as 10Mike10. This is a 3 impact origin. After the soldier, the Weapon Master has revived, he has noticed he's lost his armor and begin the adventure of finding his forgotten armor. Yes, this is in reference to that origin that I made a video on several months ago. Either way, as always, you can download this origin from the Origins Discord with a link down below. Either way, let's get into the abilities of this origin. Weapon Master. Using different weapons, sword, axe, pickaxe, shovel, hoe, bow, crossbow, shield gives you different powers. Power levels will also increase based on the material. This is the overall premise of the actual origin itself. Each weapon's going to have its own special bonus ability, and that bonus ability's power level will actually change depending on what type of material that you use. Also, side note, weapons kind of misspelled there, whoopsie daisy. First is swords. Whenever you hit with it, you'll receive speed boost, which is basically just going to be speed level 1 for wooden tools, which lasts for around 4 seconds, which is the same length it takes for this ability to recharge. Axe. Whenever you're holding an axe, your attack cooldown will be shortened. This basically makes axes far more powerful than swords because the attack speed is effectively less than that of a sword, despite being able to do double the amount of damage. This doesn't completely make swords irrelevant because of that speed boost bonus that you'll gain when attacking with a sword, but this makes axes a far more viable weapon, which is wild saying that. Pickaxe. Whenever you hit or right click on an entity or solid blocks with your pickaxe, it'll pull yourself forward. Now there's a few clarifications to this. First off, it's only ever when you right click on things, and the block and or mob has to be within range of attacking / breaking range. Furthermore, the boost is very negligible. It's like pretty much nothing. It's about half a block of jump you gain, half a jump of boost you get towards that direction. It's very unnoticeable when you're moving around. Though, one useful thing you can do with this is you can use it to make it so that your jump is a touch bit higher, probably allowing you to clear 2 blocks or 1.5 block jumps that you wouldn't be able to do beforehand. Overall, it's not really negligible. Shovel. Whenever you hit with a shovel, you stomp the target into the ground and apply blindness, nausea, and slowness to them. This is a pretty interesting ability. It puts the mob into the ground a little bit, and in survival mode, they'll pretty much take like a moment and then they'll come back out and start following you. But the slowness is kind of useful to get away from said mob pretty quickly and put some good distance between you and them. With players, this is just going to be a very annoying ability. Hose. Whenever you hit whilst using a hoe, you'll pull the target towards you and apply weakness for 2 seconds. Overall, this is an interesting ability. First off, it's going to be very useful in those scenarios where the mobs are running away from you right after you hit them, especially those passive mobs that just run away when you hit them. It can allow you to pull them right back to you and do a lot more damage, but it's not going to be too useful when versing any form of hostile mobs, mainly because you're pulling them towards you. They're gonna deal damage. Unless you're in a situation where you're versing another player and you're absolutely dominating them, it's not going to be a useful thing to have. Bows. Receive speed when charging a bow, and you'll get speed boost when you shoot an arrow. Effectively, it's the same ability that was used in the Forgotten Armor origin. Whenever you charge up a bow, you'll gain speed 3, which is basically enough of a speed boost to make it so that you're going the same speed as you were before you charge your bow whilst charging your bow. The speed boost will hold on as long as you're holding the charge, but the moment you let go, the speed boost will just immediately disappear. Crossbows. Arrows you shoot from a crossbow will have no gravity. This is stupidly powerful because it means that you can just directly aim at something regardless of how far away it is from you, and you can guarantee that you'll hit directly on that spot that your crosshair is currently aiming at, making that so far both the axe and the crossbow have the most powerful abilities attached to them. Shields will also give you absorption whenever you use the shield, and whenever you take off the shield, it will put it on the cooldown again. This basically just gives you an extra 2 hearts to take hits from, and it will reset every few moments based upon the cooldown of the actual power itself. 𝓵𝓲𝓷𝓴𝓼, I probably just butchered the hell out of that word, is your secondary ability. It costs your power cooldown to receive regeneration and hunger. So in using this, you'll gain regeneration 2 as well as the hunger debuff for around 3 seconds. This can help boost your hearts in those critical situations, and also runs on the same cooldown as the bonus abilities that come with most of your weapons do. This is very major because the hunger does take away a lot of your hunger points every time you use this ability, but you also gain at least 2 hearts every time you press it. So it's kind of a give and a take in that one. You want to make sure you keep eating food, but it'll be stupidly useful in those situations where you have less hunger than full, but you need health. Going into material based boosts, when it comes to the different effects that you'll gain based upon whatever material you have, only the sword, shovel, and pickaxe abilities receive major changes based upon the boost. When you're using a Netherite sword to attack, you'll gain speed 4 for 4 seconds, giving you super zoomies. Whenever you use a shovel attack, it will give them a slowness 4 as well as a grounded ability, pretty much nullifying their movement entirely. And then the pickaxe will now pull you 4 blocks in any given direction. This can be used to pretty much do a super jump, but be aware you will still take 4 damage when doing so. Every armor is useful. Every armor will not give defense points based upon materials anymore, but you can use forges to give armor defense points instead, which is the next major thing we're going to run through. Forge, whenever you're holding a material, whether it be iron, copper, gold, diamond, emerald blocks, netherite scraps, blaze rods, amethyst shard, as well as eco shards in your offhand with a different armor or weapon type in your main hand, you can forge the two together to get various different powerful enchants at the cost of XP levels. The grammar of this ability is slightly messy, but considering that the creator is, I'm assuming, first language isn't English, considering the download location where it was apparently uploaded was somewhere in Hong Kong, I can pretty much dismiss it. It's not too difficult to read over. You will need to hold down the G button or your primary ability button for a few moments in order for the actual forge to occur. You'll see by the grey bar just above your hunger bar, as well as the sound notifications that you'll be having on at the same time. Netherite scrap will give you defense points on your armor, which you can do up to 5 different times per armor piece. It can also put knockback on your swords or tridents, and can also put silk touch on your main tools. You will need to use it twice on your sword and trident to get knockback level 2 though. Diamond's got a fair few uses by being able to forge protection enchantments onto armor, sharpness onto melee weapons, resistance onto shields, power onto bow, and quick charge on crossbows. All of them going to their respective max levels of those enchantments. With gold, you can forge projectile protection onto armor, smite onto melee weapons, as well as a shield, which is interesting to say the least, piercing onto bows, which won't function if you're too close to the target, as well as piercing on crossbows. Which is where you also discover that enchanting limitations such as not being able to put smite on sharpness swords or other forms of protections onto other enchanted protected armors, that was a complicated sentence that didn't need to be that, is completely gone. You can put a smite enchantment on top of a sharpness sword using your forge. Iron will forge blast protection onto armor, bane of arthropods onto melee weapons, as well as shield, again weird, as well as punch onto bow, and multi-shot onto crossbow. With copper, you're able to forge unbreaking onto armors and weapons, peaking at level 5, which is far better than typical enchantments. With the use of an emerald block, you can put mending onto any item. This will only be level 1 mending, though you can't forge any higher. Blaze rods allows you to forge fire protection onto your armor, fire aspect onto your melee weapons, then fire resistance onto your shield, though that can only ever be a level 1, and flame on both your bow and crossbow, though that can only ever be level 1. With eco shards, you can forge swift sneak to leggings, looting to melee weapons, luck but only level 1 onto your shields, and infinite onto both your bows and crossbows. Only level 1 though. Again, bypassing the enchantment restrictions with both infinity and mending being able to be on the same bow at the same time. It also gives you luck 5 whenever you're holding out your shield. Amethyst shards will allow you to forge feather falling to your boots, sweeping edge to swords, and loyalty onto tridents, as well as efficiency on all the other tools and weapons that you may also use. Cursed Soul, villagers and iron golems will hate you, and also your view is grey instead of the typical colourful Minecraft. A few criticisms for this origin to the origin creator. Probably a big thing I may want to tweak with is maybe make it so that the axe attack speed's not as good as what it currently is in this version. Maybe make it so instead of it being 0.8 on lower tier axes and 1 on the higher tier axes, we make it so that it's even or slightly worse than swords. Because I still make them better than initial axes, but not completely make swords entirely irrelevant. But overall, this is an amazing origin that takes the concept of, instead of going via the usual Minecraft methods of upgrading your gear and armor with enchantments and stuff along those lines, it instead requires you to use both your resources and an absurd amount of levels to gain some really awesome abilities, in turn for removing any form of arbitrary enchantment restrictions, as well as giving you a lot higher echelon that you can go with certain enchantments, making you overall far more power potentially than the typical typical Minecraft player, but it also makes you weaker initially and costs you a lot of resources to get there. Either way, what's your thoughts on this origin? Let me know in the comments down below. Leave a like and subscribe, and check out the Forgotten Armor origin, also created by the same creator via the end screen up above. Anyways, bye bye!